So, it has been about a month since the horrible attacks on Jerusalem, horrible attacks by Hamas. And everybody has been talking about this terrorist group, Hamas, and how horrible they are. But now, here comes the American government to let us know that there is a far greater threat, and that is Christian nationalism. Today on the Road to Emmaus podcast. Brother, have you heard about this?
Wow. Come again. They're what kind of a terrorist group?
Oh, Christian nationalist. Yes,
Christian
absolutely.
nationalists. Oh no.
Yes,
They're the worst kind. They're
the
not
worst.
only Christians, but they're also people who love their country.
They're the worst kind of nationalist.
That's the
The
worst
one.
combination.
Oh,
Oh
terrible.
no. Oh no,
And
no.
and so this wonderful lady, which I don't know if she's claiming to be a Christian, says that all Christians should be against Christian nationalists. Take a look at this
Mhm.
video.
The single greatest threat to religious liberty in the United States today, and thus our reputation as leaders in the fight for religious liberty to the rest of the world, is Christian nationalism. Christian nationalism is a political ideology and cultural framework that seeks to fuse American and Christian identities. Christian nationalism seeks to privilege Christians and Christianity in law and policy. We see what happens when religious nationalism in a country is allowed to flourish and use the power of the state to attempt to force a set of religious beliefs or create only one accepted form of religious belief. To oppose Christian nationalism is
What
not
are
to
you
oppose
talking about?
Christianity. In fact, a growing number of Christians, and I am one of them,
Oh, she's
feel
a
a
Christian.
religious imperative to stand against Christian nationalism.
Hmm.
More than
Yeah.
35,000 Christians have signed their names to a unifying statement of principles at the heart of the Christians Against Christian Nationalism campaign, which includes this language, quote, "Conflating religious authority with political authority is idolatrous and often leads to the oppression of minority and other marginalized groups, as well as the spiritual impoverishment of religion. We must stand up to and speak out against Christian nationalism, especially when it inspires acts of violence and intimidation, including vandalism, bomb threats, arson, hate crimes, and attacks on houses of worship against religious communities at home and abroad," end quote. It's deeply that a member of the U.S. House of Representatives openly identifies as a Christian nationalist. Yet all of us who care about religious freedom should be able to quickly and definitively reject Christian nationalism.
Should we? So, all right.
What is she talking about? what
So
what era is she living in? Is she like living in the Crusades? Oh, where is she?
it's, I mean, well, I mean, yeah, she's saying, I mean, this whole country, the country of the United States, was built on Christian nationalists, right?
Mhm.
On one end, they were open to freedom of religion because they never wanted to go back to the oppressive state of their homeland, which was Europe, where it was all Roman Catholicism, right? And they didn't want to go back to that, so they wanted the freedom of religion. But at the same time, they were nationalists and they were Christians and they wanted their country to be Christian. Absolutely. And you notice how what they say, it's like, we have to understand that there are people in our government, right? The evil conservative Christians that love their country and that have and they are fighting against that. We should immediately reject those people.
Mhm.
And and it's like, these extremists, and then they all of a sudden they put extremists with like people who do horrible things to places of worship, bomb threats, and doing horrible things like extremist acts, terrorist acts, and they associate that with Christian nationalism, like people who are Christians, people who love their country, and people who believe that we should be a Christian country. They are the biggest threat to our country.
Yeah, but I'm just strange that she was saying that when how many examples have we seen thus far that there are Christian nationalists in this era? Okay, I'm not talking about the Crusades, which I think she was having a flashback to the Crusades where where certain
PTSD.
minorities were pillaged, were killed, were slaughtered, all in the name of Christianity. But now in the year 2023, I mean, how many examples have we seen of what she said? Minorities being, uh, done terrible things to them. I just can't picture what she's saying.
Well, it's like if you can make an extremist group, then anybody who shares the ideology of that extremist group is also by fact guilty because it's like the whole thing with the MAGA extremists, right?
Mhm,
There are no MAGA extremists. They're just people who are supportive of the whole MAGA movement. But
mhm,
then if you support Donald Trump, then you are automatically a MAGA and automatically support MAGA extremist, right? And
mhm.
so it's like make demonized the worst case scenario, and then anybody who may fall into that is also should be demonized as well. And it also are the best political mind in the whole entire history of America, Kareem Jean-Pierre, decided to say something about this. Look at this. She says here, all right, that and this was citing on a thing from Salon. Advances claim that MAGA and Christian nationalism constitute greater threats than Hamas could ever be. Could ever be. Like, could I mean, just okay, hold on. Could ever be. All right, they have already raped women, killed children, like literally just killed babies and
Oh,
ransacked people's
man.
home and flew around in paragliders shooting civilians. And
Yep.
yet Christian nationalism, greater
Our
threat than
greater threat.
than
Yep.
Hamas could ever be.
Hey.
So yeah, so MAGA and Christian nationalism constitutes greater threat than Hamas could ever be. And it says here, read down here, correspondent with Brian Kareem, and also suggesting that the Republican Party and Hamas are both terrorist groups. It's just a matter of a degree, right? Of degree. With venom to spare, Kareem doubled down in a similar piece Thursday, suggesting that MAGA and Christian nationalism together constitute a greater threat to America than Hamas could ever be.
What?
Yep.
Okay, that's why we don't do drugs, kids.
But this is I mean, you notice that what that lady was saying, right? She was saying that Christians should be against these Christians,
Mhm.
right? And I'm sorry, if you're not a Christian and don't love the country that God gave you, God put
Yeah.
you in, right? I mean, look at like Africa. When I went to Africa, it was primarily they described themselves like Kenya.
Mhm.
Kenya is a Christian nation. Period. There is there I didn't really see any Muslims at all there, at all. Not saying there isn't some, but it is a primarily Christian nation. They set themselves up as a Christian nation. And so are they Christian nationalists too? What the Philippines, you guys are a Christian nation,
Yeah.
right? And you are very fond of your nation, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You
many
terrorist.
Filipinos, just expanding on that idea, many Filipinos, Christians and even non-Christians, love the Philippines. So what she's saying that just because you are of a certain ideology or religion, and then also loving your country, it will result to a certain sector of society being marginalized. So we have not seen that here in the Philippines. So just taking the Philippine context, we have not seen that. So I really doubt that you will even see that, even in the slightest, happening in the US.
It doesn't matter. It's all about making the enemy, right? And if
Yeah.
they're an enemy, then you have to war against the enemy. And but I mean, you look at it in American history. American history is all about every time that a minority group is given freedom, and is ending hate, it's always a Christian group that's behind it. I mean, Christians ended slavery.
Mhm.
Christian white people ended slavery.
Yep.
Right? That's that. I mean, one could say, well, they began it. Well, the ones who voted against the emancipation was actually liberals.
Mhm.
Conservatives are the one Christian white conservatives are the ones who voted against
Mhm.
keeping slavery around, and then also giving minorities the right to vote.
Mhm.
Christian nationalist, all the freedoms that minorities have. Christian nationalist. We got it. We have to understand that's, and a lot of minorities are Christian nationalists, people who love America and people who have vouched for America and are not white. So the fact that you're saying that Christian nationalists and minorities are two separate things, that's racist, man. That's racist. So what do you guys think? I mean, what do you guys think about all this? Do you think that this is just the shadow of things to come? Right? That, and it also says that Jesus says that they will deliver you up into synagogues. Synagogues was a place of worship, right? So to be killed, you will be delivered up by your brethren to the synagogues, to the places of worship, to be killed. What do you think about that? Could this be a sign of that actually happening today? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about that. And also, if you have some scripture that maybe corresponds. Please, we love to kind of talk about scripture and see how that plays on what's going on in the world and also biblically as well. So if you haven't already, guys, please like and subscribe these videos. Please share them to anyone you can. It really helps us tackle the beast that we call the algorithm. And also click the bell for notification, as we do have a lot of videos coming out soon. Even the new Antichrist series will have some more videos coming out. If you haven't seen the other videos, check them out as well. And we will see you on the next one. God bless, guys. See you next time.